afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Happy Tuesday. For those who are new here, my name is Maurice Jr. And what we do here at II Cultivate is help people stay connected to their dreams and goals. Today, we have one of my favorites growing up, one of my guys' sisters, his sister, because you do have several sisters. But Doreen is one individual from Youngstown that I really admired growing up as it relates to her grit, her perseverance, and just always being her. You know, regardless of wherever we was at, you always seen a authentic Doreen. But hey, we keeping the hometown series going. Like I said, we have one of my favorites here, Doreen. Doreen, do you mind introducing yourself for people who are not, who don't pretty much don't know who you are?
Thank you, Mr. Thomas, for that very great introduction. Yes, my name is Doreen Devine Block. I grew up in Youngstown, Ohio, on the east side. Ironically enough, I am back on the east side with my child. I graduated from The Ohio State University with a criminology major, which is going to be very interesting because we're going to talk about the segue from Ohio State to me being a fitness instructor and things like that. Depending on my audience, depending on the hat I wear, I have an audience. So I may be teaching the elderly in fitness or children in fitness. So I'm sure we're going to dive into this. I am a little nervous, so you guys bear with me. But I'm very honored that you have decided to interview me for this hometown series.
Absolutely, and I appreciate your time this evening here. Overall, one thing you touched on there in your intro was Ohio State. Man, I remember the first time we got an invite from Ohio State, with you attending, Old State there, and us going to Central State. You know, it was 30-40 minute drive at the most to come to different events. But the most important piece, like I said at the beginning, you always was authentic in who you were and different things of that nature. So one thing that I noticed, Doreen, is that we'll start at RAN. At RAN, you were very, very involved. No matter if it was speech club, drama club, line dancing and different things of that nature. Speaking of line dancing, I know that's going to tie into your fitness there, but you never ever took time to teach me any line dances. The only one that I barely know right now is called the biker shuffle, and because that's like the easiest one, or the chocolate slide, all that kind of ones. But I mentioned that because you were kind of like the life of the party, in and out the classroom. No matter if we was at the early morning hall, no matter if we was at like a City Hawkins event, different things of that nature, you always brought good energy and vibrations overall. I want to ask you this, because Ted got the same type of energy. You all always have a certain energy about you. It's always good, positive thoughts. When did you have that mindset of, you know what, I'm always just going to be me, no matter where I'm at, no matter if you was in a position of, I think you chili for Disciples, or was it what was the name of it? Yeah, you was a cheerleader. And like I said, no matter whatever setting we was, you was very consistent in your character. You never seen Doreen out of pocket, getting rowdy. You never seen anything. Well, you might have got rowdy in a good sense because you was passionate about what you do. But at what age or when did you start to have like that transformation of, you know what, I'm going to stay connected to my dreams and goals no matter what?
I would say as early as maybe 5 years old.
Okay.
But I don't think I really started really practicing it until maybe 12 years old. But I say 5 years old because my mother had us involved in so many activities at a young age. So at 5 years old, she had us in the church, and in the church is where you they let you be yourself. They kind of groom you. You got to do speeches, Easter speeches, things like that. But not only the church, she had us involved in things like the Leaders Club, the Needle's Eye, things like that, where you got to know your history, and you representation really matters. So to see so many great people who looked like me throughout these programs, it made me be okay to be me. especially in my skin.
Absolutely. Great call out. Great call out there. So you growing up, your values, norms, and beliefs pretty much was cultivated by your mother there. And not only that, she put you in situations where it would challenge you, and not only challenge you, it will actually put you in situations to grow. Like you said, you was in the leaders club, different things of that nature at the church. And the church is a great atmosphere to kind of practice those skills without being crucified and laughed at, or different things of that nature. So now it totally makes sense. It totally makes sense. So like I said, whatever atmosphere I used to see you in, you always shine. It was like, oh yeah, that's Doreen. That's Doreen's mark there. No matter if you was there or not, you could see a chair. You could see a chair that was made by you. You could tell like, oh, that's Doreen. That's stand by D Block right there. So at what point did you focus on fitness? And the reason why I asked that is because you always been leading a charge. No matter if it was cheerleading, you always been active with some kind of exercise or movement, different things of that nature. And for people who don't know, if you visit Facebook and you actually friend D Block, you would notice that she does different workouts centered around just exercising and moving here, especially for people who don't have access to a gym or people who are scared to go out. But I'm pretty sure she's going to cover that in the next topic here. But let me ask you this: what made you attend because like you said, people that look like us, black and brown individuals, what made you go to Old State and say, you know what, I'm going to go to this big college where it's a certain amount of percentage of us, but I know it was maybe about 6 of y'all, I think, from the class of 2002, I want to say it was about 6 of y'all who went down there. I think it was like Regina, Brittany, Tasha Cox, yep. It was a lot of y'all, but what made y'all, say, I'm gonna go to Old State versus going to a HBCU, something of that nature?
Okay, so mine was strictly because of the Young Scholars Program. Shout out to the Young Scholars Program. So that's a program that you have to do an interview. They look at your grades and everything. In the 5th grade, you have to get sponsored, or you have to get teachers who put a good word in for you, and then they go from there. And so they interviewed us, and so I actually had my scholarship since the 6th grade. So I was inducted into the Young Scholars Program in the 6th grade, and you had to keep your grades up. So you had to keep, I think it was like a 3.0 or 3.5 GPA from 5th grade all the way up into the 12th grade, so you could receive that scholarship. So I was actually fortunate, because I think the people who came after me, they didn't start going to the actual university until they were probably like in the 10th grade or 11th grade. But I had been going since I was in the 6th grade. So every summer they had a summer institute, and they would let us go.
Whoa. We got to go back. Now you telling me in the 4th, maybe the conversation started around the 4th grade. So around 4th or 5th grade, a teacher seeing D Block matriculating through school, walking through the hallways, always shining, different things of that nature, and say, you know what, we on to something here. Do you remember that 5th grade teacher's name?
I had several teachers. So I was in the gifted program, and I went to West Elementary. So I know Miss Richardson. She was the teacher who looked just like me. I had Miss Hageman at North. So it was Miss Richardson,
Was it Miss Taylor?
What'd you say?
Was it Miss Taylor?
No, Miss Taylor, I met her later on when I was a coach. But West Elementary, only person I can remember their name right now is Miss Richardson. But I had like 4 teachers. And she was probably the person who nominated me. That's probably why I remember her.
Absolutely. And the reason why I want to highlight that and bring that to the forefront is because not only that you had to be consistent with your grades, you really had to be connected. And when I say connected, meaning like have opportunities or have relationships, because some people can actually miss out on the opportunities just because of, I'll say myself, I for the first part of my life, when I went away for college, I always did everything myself. I never fostered relationships, different things of that nature. And knowing you, you probably was like an open book to the teachers. And not only that, you just was a natural leader. So seeing that and being able to have that exposure at an early age for college, man, that's mission critical. Like for me, when I graduated, Doreen, I applied to 3 universities. Is because I knew Toledo, I knew Akron, and then I applied to Central State later on. And what ended up happening is Central State ended up giving me the most money, pretty much a full ride to the university. So that was why I picked it. But hearing your story, like, look, I was in the 5th grade going to Old State. We was doing 3-hour trips, and they trusted me. Because back then you ain't doing in Youngstown, you ain't doing no more than 15 minutes on the school bus before you get rowdy.
True.
So I know the church, I know family members, I know your sister, your brother, everybody kept you grounded as you matriculated to life, and it was like education in your mind. My I don't want to say the hood, because we're not technically in the hood, but getting out of our environment for Youngstown. And I want you to cover how you actually venture back to Youngstown after graduation. But being that you were in 5th grade and all the way through high school, middle school through high school, you have to keep a certain grade level, a GPA as you matriculate through, those grade levels. Who and what individuals to you, no matter if it's 3, no matter if it's 5, who played a pivotal part in you staying connected to your dreams as it relates to education being your ticket out the, I won't say hood, but out of Youngstown?
Got you. I really think that it was a village, but the people who stand out the most are the people who were at my church, my mime director, my pastor, and the lady who was over the Needle's Eye. Her name was actually Irma Davis, and she really, really made me the leader of possible. If anybody knew about the Needle's Eye, they knew me. I was always the person who was in the front singing the songs, doing the Black History programs, doing things like that. And it was so great because she was like my second grandmother, because my grandmother actually worked at the Needle's Eye. So she was the one who introduced us to that. And it was like generations. My mother went to the Needle's Eye, my aunties, my uncles, my cousins, everybody went to the Needle's Eye. And so it was kind of like, they will always say, "Oh, Doreen, come here. She got a scholarship to Ohio State. Tell them how old you are. Tell them this, tell them that. What are you going to be when you grow up?" It was always that push. So it was like, okay, when I get to school, I can't mess up, because they're going to have me in the front, like, tell them how you lost your scholarship. That was the type of environment, because whether you succeeded or failed, you had to come to the front and explain to everybody what was going on. So I think that's what really pushed me.
Wow, D Block, I could see you standing there and really owning it in case you came up short in some area. But that's I love that call out there. You said, look, it takes a village, and that's the truth. As even as parents, certain people not going to be there to assist you all the time, no matter if it's your brothers and sister, no matter if it's in my case, like I said, my brother, my sister, no matter if it's my mother, different things of that nature. People are not always going to be there to support you, especially in a time that you really need, because knowing you and your character, you're not going to ask for much help just because of how, like I said, we touched on that grit and that perseverance. It's just a part of you. You like, what, if I could do this myself, I'm in there, so it's very rare that you ask for, a push or different things of that nature. It just comes authentically. You just have this natural grind about yourself. But that failure piece, and people highlighting excellence at an early age. When you went to O State and was on that campus, athletes like Jesse Owens and different individuals of that nature, you hear so much about how they had to overcome issues as it relates to our skin, Black and brown people going to that university in general. Yes, it looks very good that he was able to, show that grit and perseverance. But overall, how was your experience down there, and what brought you back to Youngstown to start doing fitness or investing in your community in general?
So I was blessed. I was very, very blessed to not experience anything directly when it came to racism when I was at Ohio State. But the people around me, they experienced it. And I just think it was by the grace of God, because I know if some of those things had happened to me, you know, we from Youngstown, I probably would have lost my scholarship because of standing up for myself. These individuals did not stand up for themselves, but they talked about it. And we found out about it, ironically enough, because somebody wrote a hate letter to one of the dorms that housed a lot of people who look like me and you.
Yeah.
And so we had to come and have a forum, and people would get up and say that what happened to them at O State. And I would be sitting back like, what? That happened to you? What in the world? And so we ended up doing a march. I think it was for like education or something like that. And I was part of the leadership, and I actually got to meet Vivica Fox that day, but that's another story. But we marched like from O State to a church, a local church or something like that, where everybody kind of shared their different challenges. I'll put it like that, different challenges. But there is always, you know, there's always a Black student union somewhere. And so I think a lot of us really made that kind of our home, the multicultural things. And so that's how you kind of get through a PWI, because there are way more people who don't look like you.
Right.
It looks like you. And I'm glad you said that I didn't really ask for help a lot of times, but when you get to O State, you realize that some people have had these college classes when they were freshmen in their high school. So I noticed that, I think, my freshman year, and I would attach myself to those people who looked like they knew what they were doing. And that really, really helped me throughout my collegiate career.
Absolutely. That's a great call out, especially that last piece. Not being ashamed to ask for help. And I mentioned it earlier for myself. I wasn't a big fan of that. The people that I leaned on was, Jerome Betts, Teddy, Myron, Dana Friendly, Kiana Boffman. Those were my village at Central State. Being at an HBCU, it was home. However, people came in at different levels, and you could just tell, being in the classroom, who was knowing what they were doing versus 3 weeks later, you see that person not sitting anymore because they pretty much dropped the class or was instructed to drop it. But yeah, that Black student union, the Black student union, those centers, those, exist in multiple, like you said, the PWIs. Let me ask you this, because I know several times you invited us down, and it was always fun times. No matter if we was linking up with you, no matter if we was linking up with Floyd, no matter if we was linking up with Brian. Everyone had different experiences, and then what I was intrigued about was, I don't know, it just seemed like opportunities down there. It was so many opportunities down there, and the connection that you would make with those individuals, because the difference between people probably know this, but difference between Central State and O State was like a baby Youngstown, man. You don't even have to go off campus for nothing. Everything was there. Restaurants, if you wanted to play basketball, they had courts that was just live. Whatever you was into, it was there. With so much stuff there, and I know you touched on it earlier, you said, Maurice, I didn't want to fail. I didn't want to be the one to say, hey, Doreen, step up here and tell us what went wrong as you matriculated through O State. How was you able to stay connected, man, without being distracted with so many opportunities? And how, at that point, I know you were doing a lot of events on campus as it relates to you just being in your natural leadership role, and people nominating you, because I know for sure if it was like one of those things in the classroom, somebody would say, I want Doreen, like, let Doreen be the captain and let her pick the team, because you have a way of being able to read people and knowing when you should and when you shouldn't. So the first part to the question is, with all those distractions down there, what made you say, you know what, I'm going to stay with criminal justice, one, as my major, and then two, what made you say, I want to make sure that my family and friends experience this, let me invite others?
Okay, so it's interesting that you asked the first piece of that question because when I got to college, because everybody thought that I was this leader and because I was always pushed to the forefront, I held back. And so I actually got on academic probation as soon as I had got to school because I was doing all of the distractions and things like that. But school has always come very, very easily to me.
Mm,
I didn't have to be the person who studied for 2 hours. I could look at something and I would know it.
mm,
I've always been like that. So I didn't have great study habits going into college. I feel like the people who struggled in high school, they
mm,
actually know how to study because they have to study to get a good grade. I
right,
wasn't that person. So
right.
I had to learn where when I could study, what was my best times. And I actually would study super early in the morning, maybe
Ah,
4 a.m., 5 a.m., where nobody ever seen me.
yeah.
So when I got on the dean's list, my friend was like, well, I never saw you with a book. Just because you never saw me with the book didn't mean that I wasn't studying. So I
Right.
feel like you have to know your personal study habits. You have to know exactly how you um, internalize that knowledge. You have to know what works for you. You can't study like Maurice. Maurice can't study like Doreen. You have to study in your own personal type of bubble. And
Absolutely.
then that way you can excel.
Yeah.
And then the having fun piece was just the experiences. I actually thought that my daughter has waken up. I actually thought that you guys' experience was much friendlier. I would love to come to Central State and everybody would say, how you doing? Regardless if I knew you or not.
Yeah.
When you come to O State, I had become so used to just walking past people because nobody speaks to you. But
Yeah.
when you guys came to campus, you start speaking to people and people would speak back. And it was like, oh, okay, this works everywhere.
Yeah.
This works everywhere. But just allowing you guys to kind of partake in, here you go. Hold on a second, Maurice. Let me grab to partake in because your cafeteria closed at like 8 o'clock or something like that, and we would be still going to catfish bisque and things like that. Can you not see me?
Yeah.
Okay, and um, just having those experiences with you guys, the hospitality that you would have when I came would be reciprocated when you came. It was just it was great because a lot of us were first generational college students. So we were learning from each other. Nobody taught us how to do these things. So to experience it with each other was better than experiencing it alone. So I think that's why we tried to incorporate it.
Yeah, that was a great call out there. That portion, that last portion there, when you said, well, two things. One, I love how you kind of pivot in the middle of your. That goes back to your analytical skills and being able to multitask. You know, duty calls. You like, let me get up and let me take care of this, and being able to stay on topic there. But that last portion, that first generation, a lot of us was first generation graduates. That's a great call out. That's a great call out because I didn't know what I was doing. To be honest, when people asked
Mm-hmm.
me, I was just making sure that I didn't want to go back to Youngstown. Not saying Youngstown was a bad place, but I know what my future would look like if I was to go back to Youngstown and have to reside there. So it was never an option to transfer to YSU. It was never an option to transfer to Akron or Toledo or close to home in general. So for me,
Mm-hmm.
that was my why as I went through college. Um, so I had a second part to that question. It evolves around you now being in a position of nurturing and cultivating individuals. How you know which relationships you should cultivate or which relationships you should just listen to. That person just need a lending ear. I'm just listening to them because I know you and your personality is the first time I'll listen to your issue, but the second time we have to have a conversation around solutions. I don't want to hear that no more. That's just how you move. At that point, how you know which relationships you should pour, give energy to, or which relationships you like, you know what? Let me just listen to this person, and when I think the time is right, I will actually, not saying you God or anything of that nature, but you know, maybe this time it's time for me to give action items or next steps for those individuals?
That is a very, very great question, because when people always gravitate towards you, sometimes it's hard to say no. And I have to really learn how to say no. And having my child has really helped me, because now it's not just me that I'm thinking about. But really, in order to help someone, they have to really be tired. So you have to really just um, look at their demeanor. You have to look at what they are saying, because a lot of people really talk a good game. They have learned. It's just like when people go on interviews. There are some people who can really, really ace an interview, and you're like, oh man, they're gonna be great for the job. Then they get in the job, and you're like, oh no, they just really interview very, very well.
Right.
And then there are some people who cannot interview to save their life, but they have great work ethic. So
Right.
it's the same thing when you're trying to decide whether you want to nurture this situation, or
Yeah.
if you want to just say, okay, let me know when you get tired. Then
Yeah.
that's when we'll try to find some solutions. So I think that's where it comes from.
Yeah, that's a great call out. That portion of saying no. Saying no is a skill. A lot of people are people pleasers, and it's not so much they are people pleasers as in they want to be loved or they want someone to want them. It's just their natural personality or their character for them to always help. You know, they don't want to deny people of that. If you're in a position to help somebody and you say no to me, um, to me, well, in my old ways, I used to say that you know, that I know that person could help me, but at the same time they would you know, blind me or be like, be cool on me. So I learned on an early age to be cool on everybody, to do it myself. However, being an adult, being in the situation I am right now, networking is mission critical in any endeavor that you do. Now, speaking of, you know, people's actions matching what they're saying, um, I love that call out as well. And you have ventured back to Youngstown, and not only venture back to Youngstown, you are really pouring into the community there. No matter if you're, I never forget, like 3 months ago, possibly 3 months ago, maybe earlier in the year when the pandemic first happened, I seen a TikTok of you calling out other cheer squads of them doing certain things. And it was the truth. It was the truth. And all you can do but laugh, because like I said, when you touch something, you know, like, oh, that's branded by D Block, or D Block, that's stamped by D Block, that's her. The reason why I say that or call that out is because as you pour back into the community, you know, what do you want the community to look like as our children grow up in the community, one, and then two, why is fitness or exercise so important in that endeavor in general?
Okay, so the reason why I came back to Youngstown was not because I decided it. Just like I said, we're first generational um, students, college graduates, things like that.
Right.
So people really just tell you, get good grades, get your degree, get good grades, get your degree. Nobody really tells you when you're getting your degree, go and do an internship, go and do an externship, do that early, do that sophomore year, do that junior year. That way, if you decide to change your mind, you still have time to grow.
Yeah.
I never knew those pieces.
Yeah.
So, criminology major, I wanted to be a lawyer.
Uh,
I actually didn't foreshadow anybody until my last quarter, because we were on quarters, not semesters,
yeah, we were too.
of my senior year.
Yeah.
And I hated it. I foreshadowed a tax lawyer, a criminal lawyer, and a corporate lawyer. And it was so much paperwork. And like I said before, things always came easily to me, but that didn't mean I wanted to be buried in
Right.
paperwork. So I was like, when I talked to my counselor, and they were like, well, you can stay here and you can do this and you can do that. But a lot of people think, oh, when you're not using your degree, that means you went to college for no reason or anything
Right.
like that. You wasted time. But while I was in college, I joined a dance team.
Hmm.
And I actually got on there. You had to audition every single year.
Yeah.
And we would do community services with the middle schools, with the high schools there, and we would teach them dance, and then we would teach them different things about life. And so I said, I can do this for real. So
Yeah.
when I came to Youngstown, that's exactly what I started doing.
Yeah.
And I would teach dance, and there's math in dance, there's literature in dance. Anything you could think about was within dance. And we would have to do invoices and talk about how we would do the goals through dance. And
Mm-hmm.
those things came easily for me. And they would make sometimes what I said or did the model. Like, this is how we want y'all to do y'all paperwork. And I
Right.
was like, oh, okay. Then I'll look it up and I was like, oh, this is mine. Like,
Yeah.
oh, okay. All right. So I was doing something right. So I basically start pouring into children who look like me, because although you saw the light, sometimes people didn't see the light, and they didn't see that I could I don't know, dance even today, because I don't look like the typical dancer. I'm
Yeah.
not super small.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not super tall. And they're like, oh, well, if she can do it, I can do it. And then
Mm-hmm.
because I have that education piece behind it, I can pour knowledge into my community. And
Right.
so I got a job working with the government and was volunteering with dance, just so I could fill in that gap. Because so many times people just tell you, go to school. Because you're smart, you need to go to school for that.
Yeah.
But they don't tell you, you need to do this, this, and this to be successful
Right.
while you're doing those things. So
Absolutely.
I'm just trying to fill in that gap.
No, those are great call outs. And one of the things that I deal with now is I volunteered for the Big Brother Big Sisters program, and my little, he is 8 years old. So he's around the age of Ashton right now. And right now we start having those conversations of building a resume. Now, it's not technically a formal resume, but at the same time, it goes back to what you said earlier, Maurice, that exposure, being in the church and then having people push me into situations where I know I will most likely fail the first or second time. However, that experience will actually help with my growth overall as I matriculate through life. Now, I want to revisit something, and I think that's mission critical that you pointed that out. You said, Maurice, I always wanted to be a lawyer, and that as I, had that passion, I had that feeling. The feeling kind of went away once I actually had the on-job experience of shadowing someone, and it didn't happen until my last quarter of my my year that I was actually going to graduate. And then you was able to pivot, and not only pivot and stay connected to who you are inside out. It's mission critical, because a lot of people say, find something you're passionate about. A lot of times when you find something you're passionate about, it don't make good money. But the fact that you understood, like, you know what, I can continue to be who I am and pour into my community. Not only that, you scored a government job where you're able to continue to foster relationships, different things of that nature. Another thing is, I know you just had another relationship where someone, I think a local hospital have donated different things to you, or I don't know. I really don't know the background behind it, but I know you was like, hey, exercise at your own risk. However, we did partner with, I want to say it's St. Elizabeth's, but I know I'm totally wrong, but that's the only one.
No, that's right. It's Mercy Health now, but yes, St. Elizabeth, Mercy Health.
Absolutely. Absolutely. But that community service piece, and like you said, being in positions where you do internships or some kind of co-op to actually know or validate your major, you have those conversations around people all the time, like college is a waste of time, different things of that nature. But I disagree from a standpoint of it brings more opportunities. And not only that, when you graduate from a college of such prestige like O State, you actually have that networking piece, so people don't understand you're pretty much paying for that network. You're always able to go back and look for people who are doing certain things in your career. Not only that, people don't know your resume, man. I just know that resume from the time that, for me, it started at North. And then from North, we went to Rand, it was clear who Ms. John Quest Favors was. And when you see a teacher, pretty much stick to a student, or not so much stick to a student, but put students in a leadership role, is mission critical for you to monitor the behavior or the what's the name. So this is not about me talking right now, but I know I probably took about 2 minutes, but I just wanted to bring everything full circle there. Now, as you build your resume and continue to build your resume at this next phase here, you say you want to continue to cultivate Black and brown people educate people around education, around exercise, and just health in general, because you don't fit the, like you said, you don't fit the norm as it relates to a fitness instructor or a dance teacher or whatever it may be. So now that you're, blasting that norm, what has been your biggest obstacle of, in the meantime, as it relates to being back in Youngstown, people accepting you, people accepting what you're actually doing to help cultivate the community? What has been your business, your biggest obstacle? Is it people? Is it just relationships? Is it finances? Is it technology? Like, what has been your biggest hurdle?
The biggest hurdle has been support.
Support.
It has been support. I think people support those who they feel are popular at the time, or who they feel are a celebrity. So if I was sponsoring a fitness thing and I said, "Oh, I'm gonna have Gucci there," Gucci bag gonna come there, then everybody shows up. But the biggest problem has been support. And it's really been hurtful because of all of the students, all of the people who I have helped along the way.
Yeah.
You would think that they would support, they would send their kids to support, things like that. So the biggest thing, and I don't know if it's a Youngstown thing or if it's just a hometown thing, but the biggest obstacle has really been support. I'm actually doing a hip hop series for a 12-week period with people in Detroit. It's like the people who are not here recognize your talent and they say, "Hey, we're going to put you at this platform and that platform," which is great. You want to be noticed other places, but when you do stuff for your hometown and people don't show up, it's really hurtful. So that's been like the biggest obstacle.
Man, D Block, that touched home right there. That touched my heart right there. Two things that came to mind: family and friends are the last to support. And then the second thing is, when people are that close to you, you so bright, like people can't see. But the people who are away in Detroit, they can actually see that beacon. Like, what's that? They gravitate toward that light. So they definitely understand. I definitely understand that position there. And I think people, as you continue, because consistency is the most important piece there. As you consistent, and then people get out of survival mode, D Block, I think that people will be more likely to understand the importance of what you're doing and what you're bringing to the community. Because a lot of people who are in survival mode, and we know our culture back in our hometown city, is that a lot of people are struggling, and the last thing they're thinking about is exercising or eating well or different things of that nature. Whereas we know that in our city, it's a convenience store every other block, and we know, they're making food in their kitchen, different things of that nature, where that food is not going to be beneficial to what we need to do as we continue to grow and different things of that nature. But great call out. I just really think, and I really want to thank Miss Richardson. Remember we talked about that water at the beginning. I want to thank Miss Richardson for just noticing something back in the 5th grade and able to put you in a situation now. I'm pretty sure she's smiling back and different things of that nature. That's why it was mission critical for me to have an interview with Ms. Jonquez. And I really feel like you're well qualified to have these conversations, because I want to invite you back in a few to talk about your experiences because I'm pretty sure what's about to happen over the next 6 to 9 months is you're creating a platform where people can go and watch live. And even if they can't watch live, they can always go back and play it and get themselves, because once you understand how to eat right and how to exercise, to me, it gives you a mindset of the discipline that you need. And it gives you a mindset of, how can I say this without being rude? Because it's more of, D Block is, I don't know. I look at people when it comes to their habits that way. Like, okay, your outer appearance is a reflection of your discipline and your habits. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So the reason why I say that is when people understand that portion, it will give you a different. It gives you clarity. As you work out and have working out, different things of that nature. So I'm just gonna leave that at there. But overall, as people go through these harsh times here, D Block, what is something like last words that you would say to them, as people get through these survival, I don't want to say survival of the fittest, but it's more so of every man for themselves type thing. Like you said, the support, like people not going to support you, and I could do that better than you. You might be able to do it, but how you going to execute at the level that I'm doing? And it's room for everybody to make money and different things of that nature. But some last second gems you want to throw out there, no matter if it's centered around success, no matter if it's centered around exercise and fitness, eating right, just matriculating through college. What are some last second gems that you want to throw out that you feel that I may have missed and didn't ask the right question or something?
You're fine. You did a great job, because I was trying to anticipate what you were going to ask me, and you did not ask me any of the questions that I thought you were going to ask me. But I just feel like I would just tell people, don't be afraid to start over. Don't be afraid of reinvention. Don't be so stuck in, I have to go this way to go that way. When you talked about networking, everything that I have accomplished has been through networking. Somebody saying, hey, I'm actually working with a lady that I used to work with in early 2000s with a summer camp now at the Mercy Health Foundation. And when she heard my name, she was like, oh yeah, she can do this. So some people think you're supposed to be pigeonholed in just one thing, but you are great in different facets of life. So because now we're in survival mode, because now COVID has hit, you have to reinvent yourself time and time again. It does not mean that you have failed. It just means that you have made way for your talent to make money for you. I never was a technology person before.
Yeah.
I used to hate technology. I'll be writing it on the calendar, and I still do it. I ended up, when I had my child and had to change jobs, I was teaching English to Japanese students, Brazilian students. I was online teaching different things, doing different screens. And I'm like, I hate technology. Yeah. But just because it's not something that's in your comfort zone,
right,
don't let it stop you, because you can do this. You just have to have that mindset, like you said, that mentality. Reinvent. Do not be afraid to reinvent yourself. That's just my biggest thing. Don't be afraid of it.
I love that. That quote, don't be afraid to start over. D Block, I'm pretty sure people will get a lot of value out of this interview. And most likely they will probably want to reach out to you discreetly. I very rarely see people comment on videos when I put it on different outlets. I very rarely see people comment about different questions or concerns. However, I do get a lot of individuals say, hey, Maurice, thanks for the interview. This person reached out to me, different things of that nature. Two things. One, if someone wanted to, reach out to you around a conversation, around whatever it may be, what platform, do you want them to reach out to you to? And then two, the second question is, never mind, I'll keep that conversation later. We'll say that for a second interview, but how do you want people to leverage you or reach out to you? What platforms can they reach out to you and say, hey, D Block, I have a question around college, or hey, D Block, I have a question around networking. Do you have somebody in your network to help me with this, or they want to partner with you? How do you want to be reached?
All right. Two ways that I will reach out automatically. So if you go to Facebook, Doreen Block is the name. You can message me. And if you email me at Doreen Devine, that is DOREEN DE as in egg, V as in victory, INE @gmail.com. I will respond. I am not an expert on anything, but if I don't know something, I will research it. So whatever you need, if you just need anybody to talk to, I am here, because that's what we need to do. We have to stick together to survive these times.
I'm gonna push back on that by saying you are an expert, and that's the reason why people was saying, hey, you need to get D Block on there as well. I have like 5 people from Youngstown that I have not even reached out to regarding interviews. But Doreen, you'll be surprised that people see greatness in people, but they don't see it in themselves. And when you reach out to them and have a conversation around it, they'd be like, nah, I'm not ready, or I'm not successful, or they don't feel like they're there. Man, I promise you, people are watching. and they're not preying on people's downfall. They're just watching to see how consistent people are going to be over the years and how they're able to persevere through life. And, you know, so great call out. So Facebook, you can find her at Doreen Block, and I'll make sure I put it in the description. The second thing is the email address is DoreenDevine@gmail.com. If you didn't notice from the beginning, that is her middle name. That you gave her, you know, introduction there. And then the last piece is Doreen. I noticed that, if you notice, I put my glasses on. You did not have glasses on. What happened? I would have did mine without glasses.
Because I have contacts now, Mr.
Oh, okay. So you finally matriculated to contacts. I know Teddy did that back in what? I want to say he probably did it around basketball season his senior year. Because I remember.
Yes, I did it my junior year, I want to say, in high school. So really? I just go back and forth, and I try, because glasses really messed me up. I think my mom did it to keep the boys away, and it succeeded for a long time. But I really just have a complex when it came to glasses. But when I started teaching young people, and I saw them with their glasses on, even though I wear contacts, I would wear my glasses on purpose just so they can know that they still are beautiful. So they wouldn't think, oh, okay, because coach got contacts, I need to get them. So I would wear my glasses on purpose, even though I still was self-conscious with it, because I wanted them to know that they were still beautiful with their glasses on. So
absolutely. Yeah. If y'all don't see this, how let's just say divine that she is in her, and you know, her purpose. A lot of people don't know what their purpose is, but if you can't tell, Doreen has figured out her purpose at an early age, and she's able to tap into it. And not only be able to tap into it, she's made a career and a lifestyle around it. And anyone that comes near her, you can tell just through that energy and her vibrations. It actually just, it's just a warm feeling overall. But D Block, we gonna exit off here. We have that information. I'm gonna put your contact information in the description if people want to reach out to you. Outside of that, stay safe, stay healthy, and I look forward to speaking with you soon again.
Likewise. Thanks for having me.
No problem. Later.
Adios.